And now, the SleepHawk Worldwide Podcast. Here are your hosts, Brandon Staton and Tyler Hansbrough.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to the SleepHawk Worldwide Podcast. This is Sleep Dawg with the Big Hawk.
What's up, everybody? It is just an absolutely beautiful day. I'm at sleep. Guys, I've been traveling today. It's been a really long day, but you know what? I'm here with you. I'm excited about the pod. Sleep. Thank you. Let's go. I'm ready.
You're welcome. This is the podcast equivalent of the damn Sahara Desert, people. Like, me and Big Hawk have been offline for the last 20 minutes just trying to muster together some shit to talk about. So we want to apologize in advance. If you fast forward, it's likely to be over in 10 minutes. So just hang with us, man. No clue. So I realize that you guys probably don't care a lot about NBA Summer League, and I'm probably one of the 6 people in America that does. So we're going to talk a little bit about that, and we're going to bring it in about we're going to relate it to Carolina, which I know is why a lot of you guys are here. Javonte Williams, speaking of Carolina, some news on him. We'll get to threads. We're going to explain to the Big Hawk live what threads was, what it means, pros and cons, etc. So stay tuned for that. That promises to be interesting. And Carolina football. This is how far we're reaching. 55 days away. All right. Drake May getting some major comparisons. And we already knew he was going to be good, so it's going to be really interesting to see how he handles it when the season starts. But exciting year ahead for him. But before we even get into sports, we're going to piggyback on last week's ketchup conversation because everybody seemed really interested in that. I was fascinated by some of the opinions. Had a lot of people reach out and tell us different things about different pizzas and different ways to handle ketchup. You know, there's a lot of people on either side of the fence. But just this afternoon, thank you, Jonathan Fisher, NC drug pusher on Instagram. I don't think that's the same kind of drug pusher it probably sounds like it is, judging by the fact that he's standing on the beach with a fishing pole in his picture. But he sends us a DM. And this shit is hilarious. And I think it takes us in a whole new direction here. So I'm just going to read it verbatim. It's not very long. It just says, butter, ... in the fridge or in the pantry. Now, your first thought is like, what? At least mine was, but I'll keep going. Grew up with it in the fridge. Got married, and wife's family keeps it in the pantry. Now we store it in the pantry. I can relate to those types of compromises, John. Not tearing up the bread anymore when making butter toast. Storing it this way for 15 years now. No issues. Will not go back. So, Big Hawk, where do you put the butter, dude?
I put it in the fridge, and I've never even thought about putting it in the pantry. It's never even been a thought. First of all, does it melt in the summer? Because, I'm kind of – I like to keep things tight around the kitchen. Real clean, big clean guy. Mm. But, no, this could be a game changer. And he said he hasn't had any issues spreading the butter on the toast, which to me, I don't need a lot of bread and butter. And, this might be a good idea. I mean, I'm putting – because you melt it on everything you put, and it's not going to be as hard to cut, which it's not hard to cut at all, especially if you warm it up a little bit, you're going to – have to look at it to know you're cutting it. But I don't know, Sleep. I kind of like it. What do you think about it?
I mean, it came out of left field, dude, but I think it's brilliant. But see, here's what really turns it upside down is that they do a big argument of all these condiments not going in the refrigerator, which one can understand is like when you go to the grocery store, they're not in the refrigerator. You know? Butter is in the refrigerator.
Absolutely.
Butter is like in the refrigerator at a restaurant. Now, they might leave it out on the table all day. I guess you got to go all the way back to when people used to make churn their own butter to maybe find a time when butter wasn't. I mean, dude, it's dairy, right? And that's the part that gets a little dicey, man. If you leave butter, I mean, I guess it is loaded with salt. And I mean, Native Americans used to keep fish with salt for long periods. So I mean, I guess salt has a preservation quality that, I don't understand, dude. He's right on the spreading though, and could kind of go back to the hotcakes conversation we had last week. Remember when we were talking about them little butter packets that they give you at McDonald's, like that whipped butter that you could literally
Those aren't refrigerated.
No, and when they go on those hot cakes, dude, not only are the hot cakes just straight, nuked. So that's probably why the butter spread's so easy. But the butter's not cold either, man. So I don't know, dude. And yeah, like almost every single like recipe calls for melting butter. But yeah, dude, I would never in a million years not put the butter in the fridge. I ain't afraid of it now. I think it's something I'm going to try.
I've never thought this in the realm of possibility, and I'm going to look into this. And I think what we might have been doing, Sleep, is we're storing too much stuff in the refrigerator.
I think so too.
And I want to bring this up. This is off of left field. This weekend, I'm staying at a family member's house, and there's not a lot of room in the fridge. I mean, stuff to the brim. And I'm sitting there, and I said, "Listen, I'm going to go through all this stuff right here. Bring the trash right here. We're gonna find out what's expired and what's not." I don't know if anybody's done this with the seasoning in the fridge. You want a clear space, do that. And you will be surprised. There was like a ketchup bottle that expired 2 years ago. It looked like barbecue sauce.
Finding kids' report cards and shit in their drawers. I mean, there's stuff everywhere in people's refrigerator, dude.
Oh, man. And I'm just like, unbelievable.
It's like, how do you go to the grocery store? Like, where are you going to put, like, it's one in, one out. And then, of course, stuff just starts getting shoved to the back. Maybe we'll start drinking warm beer and stuff. You know what I mean? I mean, in Italy, when I was over there, they just drink warm water all the time, like room temperature water. Nothing's refrigerated. So, I mean, maybe you're right.
Same thing in China.
Produce doesn't grow in the refrigerator. Shit grows in the ground. It's hot as hell outside. But my strawberries in the refrigerator now, I mean, hell, maybe I don't even need a refrigerator, dude. Maybe you just need a little freezer for ice cream. I mean, ice cream. That's it. That's the only reason you need a refrigerator. I'm finding. Holy shit, man. Like, I mean, all right. So, guys, like, keep it going. Like, tell us what else we don't need to put in the damn refrigerator. Because I look, my wife will go off one weekend and come back, and we'll have one of those little dorm fridges in there. Keep things moving. I don't know, man. Butter, I didn't see that one coming. Now, I definitely have set butter out for a while, and, it does get nice and soft, and there's something, oddly satisfying about, like, room temperature butter. But, yeah, dude. Yeah. Oh, John Fisher, man. Hell yeah. His last name's Fisher. F-S. Oh, shit. Guys, I ain't had much sleep. Fisher, F-I-S-H-E-R, not like F-I-S-C-H or whatever it would be. And he's fishing. So I don't know if his name's like Jonathan Fisher, like that's his name, or it's not really his name, but it's his nickname, or if it's just happenstance, like just a calling that, damn, dude, my name's Fisher, so I'm going to be a fisher. But he's funny as hell because, dude, man, I got that message and when he said he will not go back. Just a matter of factness, man. It's much appreciated. So, John, we're a big fan. I'm gonna go, like, as soon as I get done here, I'm gonna take all my butter out of the fridge. Never going back. Then what do you do with that little door, though? I mean, a refrigerator has a butter compartment. I mean, what John Fisher might have just done is upended an entire industry. I mean, they might have to reinvent the refrigerator.
I got a question. Sleep, do you have a special container? I know there's a compartment in the fridge for the butter. A lot of people have a butter like pan with the top.
Oh, yeah, a little lid on it.
Yeah, I think that's very effective. It's airtight in that thing. But I don't like the ones that are too big or fancy.
Right.
Just get the ordinary ones that don't take up the whole butter jar. And I don't know, Sleep, I'm kind of a guy, too, that just kind of unwraps it a little bit, cuts off the piece I want, puts the paper back on, right back into the butter compartment, shut it, done.
I cut it with the paper on it, man. Now they got it's like a little yardstick on there, man. You just take your little sharp knife and just, and like, I mean, how else are you going to know what a quarter cup of butter is? You got to follow those instructions on the side of the wrapper. You just cut right through it, unravel it, and then boom. Now you don't have any butter, getting, what may, some dust or dirt may trickle inside, and then next thing you know, it's stuck on your damn butter. But you don't have that problem when you keep it gift wrapped, man. They obviously got one end open.
Yeah, it's exposed.
Yeah.
Huh.
And it creates a nice little hard shell on the outside. So if you're really icky about it, you just thin slice it off the end. And hell, here, John, tell it, man, just room temp. It won't be hard to do. Now, that'll be a lot messier, I think. You have to have a real sharp knife to cut soft butter with the paper on. Might be like kind of cutting a tube of toothpaste or something. So, there might be some pros and cons here that we're going to need to evaluate. Like you said, I think it requires some research.
Yeah.
And we're going to put our heads together. And by God, next time we come here, we're going to have a strong recommendation on what peanut butter.
I'm looking forward to this.
Oh, man. Summer League. All right, here it is. We delayed as long as we get. NBA Summer League, big news. Victor Wembanyama, Wemby, made his debut day before yesterday. Next thing you know, this dude's been in the NBA freaking 38 seconds, and he's already had an altercation with Britney fucking Spears. Like, I don't know how this happens. I saw the video and all this sort of stuff. I don't really know, like, what went on, what didn't. Basically, like, she tried to grab him, and one of the security guards swatted her away, and she said it hit her and all this sort of stuff. And next thing you know, like, Britney Spears is just like, those are two worlds that I never expected to collide, and it didn't take long for him to collide. And it must have shook him up, dude, because he was atrocious. And for the record, all right, we tried to like find the clip of me saying this, but I'm going to say it now, and I'm going to say it clearly. And you can go back and find it, but I've already said it. Wemby is destined to bust. I'm telling you, dude, there is no way he's going to live up to the hype. Maybe he's a good player. Maybe. I don't think he's going to be. And I'm not saying that because he went 2 for 18 or 2 for 13 or some shit in his first game in the summer league, and he's 3 feet taller than everybody else. Mm-hmm. That is not a good look. Okay. Obviously he's as we're recording here, they go on again in 9 minutes. They're playing 8:00 tonight. Me saying all this shit, sending it out to the podosphere, man. The dude's probably going to have a 40-point triple-double tonight. Right. But I just don't see it, man. I don't see how he can bang with those guys that are bigger than he is. And I don't know, dude. There's a lot of look, it's Summer League. These guys are 5 minutes into their career. But there's a couple dudes in there that I'm looking at like, there'll be some people are a little nervous right now.
Well, hey, Sleep, don't downplay the importance of Summer League for a lot of these guys who get drafted. And I know a lot of players aren't playing well that were top picks, not just Wemby. But I just want to state this before. What do you consider a bust for Wembanyama? I would say a bust to me. I would say if he makes one all-star appearance based off the hype, even though people will say he was still an all-star, that is a bust. For all the expectations and hype that they put on Wemby, that would be a bust to me. He stays healthy. I would say he's got to win with this type of hype. I think he matches kind of a career where he has to meet expectations, a couple MVPs regular season.
Yeah. And like Kevin Durant got into this the other day. I'm gonna get to your question in a second. You know, when they're talking about like what makes you good, like everybody's judged on championships, right? And I don't think that's fair. You know, I don't think I get that great players win, they tend to win. But it's also tough because it's the team sport, right? And so then, you know, and I got Kevin Durant's, you know, stance, which is like, you guys call me to the carpet all the time. I'm going to good teams, and then you're going to call me to the carpet if I don't win championships. Like, what do you want, right? I think I agree with you. So I think if any player gets drafted, period, and they make multiple all-star teams, multiple being 2 or more, I think then that is a successful draft pick. And I don't care if you're the first pick. I really don't, because there's a lot of guys that don't make that. You hope that first pick sort of guarantees you that success. I think a lot of people lose sight of like what a successful draft pick really is. I think you lose sight of the fact that a first pick or an early pick, the true meaning of that is it should be more of a guarantee that player will pan out, right? Yeah. But of course, when you get to Wemby, like you got all this hype, right? And it's not his fault, right? But like he's easily the most hyped guy since LeBron. And you know, for him to not be a bust in that regard, I would still contend that if this dude makes 2 all-star teams, like you maybe didn't get what you wanted, but you certainly can't call him a bust, theoretically, right? But bust is relative, I think, to expectations in the modern sense, right? And I think with him, I think you're right. Like he's going to have to win MVPs. He's going to have to be, you know, a perennial, you know, contender. Like he's going to basically, like San Antonio's got to have to be a contender. They need to be in the conference finals, you know, within 5 years.
Yeah.
You know, and if not, that's really, they just re-signed Popovich for a 5-year deal.
By the way, which he's not coming back. I mean, they didn't just sign him. They pulled up the Brinks truck for him. I mean, they just dumped all the cash right onto his driveway. Jesus Christ. I mean, listen.
I don't know what he made it. I don't know what they paid him.
$80 million for 5 years.
Wow.
I think.
For
and
Popovich?
I just think
that's awesome.
I think that's ridiculous. I really do. And the reason I say that is I think players make coaches. I really do. Mm-hmm. I've never seen a great coach without great players. I've played for some coaches who I thought, man, I really wish this guy had a lot of talent because I think he can really coach. He has a lot of knowledge. I love the way he coaches the team. Steve Clifford for Charlotte, to me, is a very good NBA coach. And I wish they had more talent in Charlotte because I've always wondered what type of coach he would be with great talent. He's never had that in his career. But Popovich has had a lot of talent. And I think the task with the Spurs, they're going to have to find talent for Wemby. And I know they have everybody coming out of the woodwork to say they're going to tutor him and put him in a good spot. I don't care. Like, I don't care if he went to, it doesn't matter what organization. It's on him to put the work in. And I think there's something to be said for a team perspective, but also a player coming in there, dropping their ego and putting the work in and then, having that work pay off. I mean, I'm not sure how many coaches can really encourage that out of a player. Sleep, what do you think?
Well, no, I agree with you 100%. And I want to clarify, too, what I'm saying is, like, I'm rooting for the kid. I think he seems to have all of his ducks in a row. He seems got a good head on his shoulders. He's humble and all these things. Like, who am I? I'm like some overweight white dude that can't even touch the net, like, talking about some dude that's going to be a bust. Like, I mean, yeah, I hope I'm wrong. I mean, I'm not rooting against the kid. I just think that there's just no conceivable way. If someone backs up and just looks at what expectations you're putting on this guy, the likelihood that he meets them is almost impossible. I mean, they put the same sort of microscope on LeBron, but it was in a different age, man. You didn't have all the social media and stuff yet. Like, he was already good by the time, you just feel this intense pressure. And so it's a good segue into, like, what you're seeing right now with Brandon Miller. And here's what I worry about with him. Can't believe Charlotte drafted him and not Scoot, by the way. What I worry about is he feels so much of that pressure. There's Twitter, there's this, there's that. Dude, this guy's going out, and I mean, he is straight long came Polly and bricking it off the freaking backboard. Dude, he couldn't throw the ball in the Pacific Ocean if he was standing on a Carnival cruise ship in the Pacific Ocean. So, like, I don't, there's just no way I see him living up to it. Now, on the Popovich side, I'm with you. Like, the one thing I always sort of went back on and why I thought LeBron was so great in the Kobe conversation and in the Jordan conversation were really the two guys that you would always hear the comparisons about. And it was like both of those guys, there's those three guys, two of them had one thing in common. It was Phil Jackson. And I don't think a lot of people, they say, oh, there's super team this, super team that. Right. Okay, fine. But I felt like I agree with you that I don't think Phil Jackson was going to coach the Charlotte Hornets to the NBA championship, right? I always thought that it was that LeBron made more with less, and I've been since a little corrected on that because I felt like Spoelstra was one of those. I mean, like he win a championship with Mike Brown in Cleveland. I mean, Mike Brown's okay coach, but he's not some guy that you're like, this guy's an all-time great. And I think LeBron did a lot. And, obviously Spoelstra has turned out to be probably easily one of the best coaches in the NBA, maybe the best.
I agree.
So I stood corrected on that big time, right? But yeah, I mean, when is the last time? I don't know, man. Like, I like what's the dude in Denver?
Mike Malone.
Malone, like, the dude in Milwaukee, but these guys got the best player in the league, or ish on the, and Giannis and these guys. Like, I mean, it makes a lot of sense. You're not going to take some scrubs and win a title with them, and nobody's going to remember you if you take a bad team and make the playoffs with them. You know what I mean? Like, it's just like you got to have the guys in order to win. And so, I agree with you. And I do think, however, it sure as hell helps to have, like, I think Phil Jackson was a masterful manager of ego, right? And I think the same thing about Popovich. I don't think Spoelstra, in my opinion, is a little different. It's not the ego that he has to manage, but he creates a culture where your ego is it seems like your ego is just sort of like not welcome in the room.
Yeah.
And I don't think even LeBron and Dwayne Wade and Chris Bosh, like, I get that LeBron, I get the ego thing, right? But I also don't feel like he had like a huge ego. I mean, LeBron's like taking his guys with him wherever he's gone and try to make everybody better, right? So I think they've created a culture, and there's more than one way to win. But I think from that standpoint, like, hey, $80 million is a lot of money, but you got a guy that you know what you're getting, and he can handle it, and he can be unflappable, and he's not going to do anything stupid, right? Yeah. So I guess the question is like, where are you going to go to get anybody better, and how much money you're really going to save in doing that, if that person or people don't work out long term and you wind up blowing. It's like an insurance policy for Wemby, is what I think.
Well, I think Popovich has experience, and one thing that makes him appealing is now that you have a star, he's coached multiple stars: David Robinson, Tim Duncan, Manu Ginobili, Tony Parker, just to name a few, Kawhi Leonard. I think he knows how to manage egos. He's also, to me, the whole Kawhi situation, and I think Kawhi and Wemby might be a little bit different. I don't know. That kind of fizzled out in a weird way and didn't really turn out. Usually Popovich is one to kind of that stars gravitate towards, and we saw that one kind of go south. So it is, and I think the task, like I said, is the Spurs going to have to find a big man that's going to bang and take some load off of Wemby, because the last thing you want is your number one pick, who it seems like you have so much invested in, to be taking a lot of pounding each and every night. It looks like he needs to put on a little bit of weight, maybe get in the weight room a little bit, work with somebody, work on his body, get his strength up. I don't think his body's physically able to take that pounding night in and out, night after night, especially in the NBA. It's adjustment for anybody. I don't care how strong you are. Your body's going to take punishment. So I think that's what the Spurs probably need to do. But back to, you brought up Brandon Miller, and I agree with you. I thought Scoot might have been the pick. And, the thing is, when you watch Brandon Miller throughout this season at Alabama, man, in the tournament, I think he might have had an over game the first round.
I think you're right, actually.
Yeah, and towards the end of the year, he was not the player that everyone thought. And so I'm monitoring this situation, because Charlotte has had a lot of bad luck. And I cannot express the difference between the number one pick and the number two pick. Think about it. Charlotte lost the number one pick when the odds were with them years ago, when Anthony Davis was in the draft. And not drafting Anthony Davis, to me, not having that chance, kind of changed the trajectory of the franchise. I mean, you think about Anthony Davis, AD, going to Charlotte, and then you're talking about, hey, we get this guy on the rookie contract, maybe extend him. We have a chance to offer him more money than any other team, make him a restricted free agent. So he has no option but to come to our team. And then also with that is, when you have players you drafted, and I think you sign them right after the rookie deal, it does not go towards a salary cap. I think there is some weird rule like that. So I just can't stress, the difference between a 1 and 2. You look at, some of the number 2 picks. I think Hasheem Thabit was the number 2 pick, and I think Blake Griffin was the number 1 pick in 2009.
Hey, Greg Oden was a number 2 pick.
Was Oden 1?
He might have been 1.
I think
he was 1, and Durant. He went before Durant, right?
So that was that would be one that's an anomaly that worked out.
Oh, yeah, he was the 1 pick. Sorry, yeah, you're right on that.
Yeah, Oden 1, Durant 2, but I will just say, like, can you imagine the difference in the career of Tabit and Blake Griffin?
Yeah.
Like, I mean, it's just, you're talking about Blake Griffin. Some people consider him maybe a potential Hall of Famer.
Yeah.
I definitely maybe would put him up there as potential. But
and it makes a lot of sense. And I mean, I think it's less about the 1 and 2, and it's like getting the guy, right? And I think this was a weird draft because, you know, everybody was in on Wembanyama.
Yeah.
I honestly, if I were, and I said this to you, I was like, if I'm San Antonio, I'd trade that pick. Like, you think one guy is going to come in and like reinvent the entire franchise? Like, now if it was LeBron James, no, right? But LeBron James was way different, in my opinion. Way different. Like, you knew LeBron was going to be good. You didn't know he was going to be this great. I mean, that's what everybody expected, and that's the thing too. I don't want to go off on a LeBron tangent, but this is what really gets me about people that hate on LeBron. I get his antics, and maybe he's aggravating. Maybe everybody doesn't necessarily like him. But, dude, name one other person that's ever had that much expectation and then lived up to it.
Exactly.
So, you know what I mean? All right, fine. With no real baggage whatsoever. But I thought that they had an opportunity to really shake things up and go out and, San Antonio is a weird market, So I guess I'm not thinking of this from a business perspective. I'm thinking of this from a winning perspective. From a business perspective, right? That's a big ticket guy, right? You're gonna sell a lot of tickets.
Oh yeah,
there.
Absolutely.
So fine, right? But I guess if you really want to win, there's some guys out there. They could have gone out and packaged some stuff together, and they could have moved him for any other pick in the first round, plus the best player that was available on.
Oh, they could have. I would say you could have moved him for LeBron. I mean, you would have to figure it out with the contract situation and add a bunch of other pieces. But you're talking about Wemby, a young kid who a lot of people, the expectations would say, hey, your franchise is set. And, I think there's a weird task where you got to be able to make sure that Wemby is pleased, but also try to push him to be a good player. I don't know how you walk that line, Sleep.
Yeah, I guess that goes back to like, you got to hope you got a guy that's committed, right? And at the end of the day, the responsibility is on the individual.
Yeah.
And, he ain't going to be great without trying to be. And, I think he has plenty of potential to be a good player. I worry about his ability to stay, dude, that guy's got to put some. Dude, he needs to gain 100 pounds. You know what I mean?
I agree.
And guys are going to be quicker than him, or they're going to be stronger than him. And that's the thing that I don't understand. Like, look, is he going to be Yao Ming? And if so, he's going to have a hell of a career, right? But is he going to be Yao Ming? I mean, Tim Duncan, Yao Ming, those guys were big. They were strong.
Man, I just want to say this. I saw Yao Ming my rookie year. He was hurt. That guy is enormous. And Wemby and Yao are so different. Yao had tree trunks for legs. I mean, I'm being dead serious, guys. You are not moving Yao. People do not understand how big Yao was and how good his hands were. I truly believe this. If it wasn't for injuries, I do think that Yao Ming could have been arguably a top 30 player of all time.
Wow.
You look at his stats. He could do it. He could pass. He had hands. He could rebound, block. He could shoot a little bit, made his free throws.
Yep.
He had it all. And then he just had a few injuries. But, man, you look at his stats, though. So he was like a 20-something, multiple.
People forget how good he was.
Double-digit rebounder, assists, blocks, did it all.
I'm looking at his stats now. He was 7'6". Oh, good grief. Oh, man. In 2009, I mean, he averaged 20 and 10. He didn't have many assists, but he didn't need to. Let's see. What were his career numbers? His career numbers were 19 and 9. But he only played in 486 games.
It's not a lot.
83% from the free throw line. Sleep Dawg loves that. 52, 53 from the field. He was 310 pounds. And for the record, Victor Wembanyama is 209 pounds. He's 100 pounds lighter.
There's no way Yao was 310 pounds. He had to weigh more, bro.
I mean, that dude was big. That
dude was huge.
So, it remains to be seen. And some of these other guys, right? We talked about Miller. He struggled. You talk about Scoot. He only played one game so far because I think he messed up his shoulder, and he's one of those guys that, they're going to want to get him some work, but they're going to play it safe with him. James Wiseman having a hell of a start to Summer League. Even though he's a third-year guy, I think it's important to he's out there just cooking. They got a couple other guys out there that are playing really well. But the one that was on the flip side of this, you got these guys that are already set, and they're trying to. These are the first things that we're learning about the player that we think they're going to be. And then you got a guy, our boy Brady Manek, goes out, drops 17, lead the Hawks. He's on the Hawks Summer League team, leads the team in scoring. AJ Griffin, Duke guy, also a Hawk, came out and was like heaping praise on him. He's a guy that could play himself into a contract, man, because he's a shooter, and shooters they get long careers in the NBA. There's a lot of guys that never necessarily saw. You might have thought JJ Redick was going to be a good player, but you didn't see him playing almost 20 years or whatever. Danny Green, you got Cam Johnson. These are guys that I don't remember where Redick was picked or Johnson was picked. He
was the lottery pick.
Okay, but Johnson and Green were later, right? And later in the first round.
Yeah.
And pick your Austin Reeves is a more recent, guy. You go out there and make plays, spread the floor, hit shots, knock down open shots, be a threat. That's kind of Manek's game. And it's weird because you saw him play that role. The difference between last year's Carolina team and the year before was essentially one guy.
Yeah.
Right? And look, the college game is not the NBA game, but that is still a very, very important role for either team to fill in either one of those capacities. It's just a knockdown shooter. They're hard to find.
Yeah, and I agree. And also, when I think of Brady Manek, shooters get opportunities, like you just said. There's a lot to be said. There's a high value on shooters in the NBA. But if you look at Ryan Kelly, who played at Duke, around the same size, could shoot, I don't think athletically there's that much of a difference. I think, I would rather take a good shooter and teach him how to play defense than somebody who can't shoot and is a really good defender. Yep. I think that's always been one of Rick Pitino's saying, who is a huge defensive guru. I think he's going to have an opportunity. He keeps playing like this. And I would say, don't underestimate Summer League. I've always said this. I think players, there's opportunity in Summer League, even if you don't make a team. I think there's overseas scouts there. I know for a fact there's a lot of scouts from the Chinese league, which is a great league to play in. You make a lot of money playing over there. And even if he doesn't make an NBA team, the fact that he's playing well and getting exposure and people are talking about him, that's going to set him up. Even if it's just for a training camp invite, even that type of noise is going to set him up for something good, whether it's overseas or potentially make an NBA team. I would not be shocked if Brady Manek ended up on a roster spot opening day.
Yeah, and that'd be great for him.
Absolutely.
And he's also just the kind of guy you can depend on. You know what I mean? He's a good teammate, seems to be good kid, good attitude, all those sorts of things. And just he oh man, that dude's ugly. And but he can shoot, man. It's awesome. I was gonna go some places that I'm probably not allowed to go anymore. Yeah, exactly. Man, holy shit. So anyway, Summer League, if you ain't been watching, it's worth turning on every now and then. Hey, the worst case scenario is you see guys like that. Leaky's on a contract. You get a chance to watch some of these guys that you liked or didn't like, and dude, ain't nothing else to do. You watch Wimbledon. But
I've been watching that, by the way. Tough where you sleep. Guys, listen, ever since I've been playing pickleball, I've been watching so much tennis too.
Tennis is fun to watch. I like watching tennis, but it ain't like anything you want to talk about.
No, it's God, I just respect their athleticism. I've never really valued tennis players as being athletic until I started playing pickleball. It's crazy.
These dudes are good, man. Those guys are insane.
Yeah, but hey, on Leaky though, since Miller's been playing so bad lately, they might be, looking for a guy to sign. I mean, hell, maybe
you never know with some of these guys,
Miller.
man.
Yeah,
yeah, it's hard not to be. I think I might be the best out of the two guys named Brandon. I might be the better shooter right now. So we'll see. There's the one other thing that I forgot that I wanted to get into, and then we can get out of here. This play-in tournament, or sorry, the in-season tournament in the NBA is going to start this year. And that's actually really interesting to me. Maybe this isn't really the time for it. I didn't read up on it before I got in. There's they publish the rules and how it all works and how people are going to get paid. We'll dive into that later. We'll do that. We'll research that right after we do the butter thing. But I'm just curious your thoughts on it. Like an in-season basketball tournament, NBA tournament. I'm pumped about it, by the way. I think it's a great idea. But
brilliant. The NBA is so entertaining. They do things right, okay? And if it doesn't work out, they'll scrap it real quick. What I like about it is I grew up watching a lot of high school basketball. I don't know if this is going to take place around Christmas or Christmas time, whatever. It may be too early in the season. Probably
I think it's
early.
December sometime, November, December.
Well, I love it. It adds value, but also if it happens around that time, I remember just in high school getting so excited about some of these Christmas tournaments. Even before high school, I used to grow up in a small town, and there used to be all these tournaments all across southern Missouri, and it was really cool to go watch. So I'll be interested to see what this happens in NBA. But the one thing I want to go back to Summer League is when you guys tune in, and if you're still listening and you're watching Summer League, it's always interesting to me to see who's going to be coaching that team. Mm-hmm. Because it's one of the few places where you can see the head coach just chilling on the sideline, his feet up with the GM, as some assistant coach is just grinding and just yelling, screaming at players, trying to get exposure. I was watching the other night. I think it was Indiana. Of course, they got their top pick, the Ben kid, but just grinding out minutes in Summer League, which I think is hilarious. And then they have Jim Boylan is coaching the team, and I played for him. And this guy, guys, tune in. You will definitely hear him. Once you understand who he is, every Summer League game, you're going to hear this guy. You think it's funny. But I also do like watching Summer League is the one head coach that's kind of on the hot seat that wants to make a good statement. He comes out there and he coaches the team. And he's just calling timeouts, just going all in on Summer League, which I played for a coach like that, Jim O'Brien. Which, looking back, I do respect that, but also I think it's kind of funny when all the other coaches are like, oh, yeah.
Yeah, I deal with it.
You coach a team.
It's so many interesting dynamics, man, because, you got some guys that are good, some guys that are playing for their role, and it's a hard I'm trying to think of what I'm trying to say. It's like a hard proving ground because – I watched Kuminga last summer. He was in the Summer League last summer, and he's trying to emerge prior to this last season as a bigger role player. And he's so much better than the guys that are out there. And some of his spots already clear. So these guys are maybe not always making the right play. They're taking bad shots because they're trying to get shots up, right? They're trying to make the most of their time. So it's a weird thing because you're trying to learn about players, but you're also trying to learn about them in an environment where everybody is inherently more selfish, or at least some of the lower guys. Oh, yeah. So and Kuminga really did not respond well to that. The right thing to do in that situation is be a leader and but it's a tough thing to lead, right? You're you got to tell some dude that's fighting for his life out there to buy into the system. He's fuck this, dude. I'm open. I'm shooting it. I got to show this guy I can make shots. So, it's an interesting dynamic on a number of levels, and I think what will be interesting in the future, what I would like to see happen, is more access into the Summer League, because the Summer League is growing and growing and growing. And some guys like Jabari Smith, we just looked at this man. He's going off. He came out of Auburn, right? Dude. He is you can say, oh, it's the Summer League, fine, fair. Probably you're not playing NBA caliber defenders. But going out and dropping 30 a game is still like, I mean, everybody else isn't doing it, right? So you're still emerging and I'd love to see more access into it, right? So you see a lot of these, these documentaries coming out about sports and all that sort of stuff. The NBA is smart, man. They let a team from Netflix get in there, like do like Hard Knocks and just do the summer league, man. And it would be, I mean, you get to know all these players. You'd get to root for these underdogs. You'd understand who they are long before they just show up on some roster somewhere. But I don't know, man. If you're a basketball person, summer league is hella entertaining, man. And this in-season tournament, I agree with you 100%. I think all the decisions that the NBA team tends to make, the way they handle the bubble and the way that they deal with a lot of social stuff and all this, I just think they just always get it right, man. Yeah. Almost always. Yeah. And I think this is a risk, and I think it'll really pay off.
Yeah, that's a great point. The NBA does do it right, and I think the Netflix documentary was a great suggestion. Anybody who does a documentary on this is going to really find out a lot of things, and they're going to understand the business side of sports too. And I will tell you, being on multiple NBA teams, every training camp someone is cut. And I know you guys see it in Hard Knocks, but there's not in the NBA. There's not as many players, so it's more personable. And you also see guys who have been grinding it out in the D League, or gone either older. They're playing the summer league. Listen, guys, if you're playing in summer league, you really haven't made it in the NBA. Like you haven't. You don't have your contract. You're not really. You're still trying to become what you want and really set your foundation in the NBA. You would see the business side of somebody like that who is just grinding it and been playing everywhere, comes back D-League, and you would have a little more empathy for a lot of these athletes. And every year I remember when I see people get cut, God, it's really hard to watch. Yeah. And, I know that the GMs, it had to be tough to do that, but it's like every year you go into the locker room, you understand, all right, there's no chance this guy makes it. Like, this guy's just not good. I wonder what they told him before he came here. Yeah. And, it's just that side to me has always been interesting. But also you have the other side when you watch Summer League is the player who called their agent before the game. And their agent's hyping them up. Dude, you're going to get 20. Go out, shoot. I don't care how many you miss. Just keep shooting. And you'll see some kid coming out there. Hey, stop it. Wow. He's going off. He's going to be the best player or the worst player. Which I always love watching that too.
Oh man, that's fun. Or if our boy Kirk is watching, man, maybe we could get on board. We'll get Kirk on board. We could lead the charge. We'll call Netflix tomorrow morning's Monday. Just call him and say, hey, we got an idea. We ain't sure how we're gonna pull this shit off, but we got a guy who might know. But yeah, anyway, that's my free advice for the NBA. Not a whole lot else. We'll talk about Drake May later, man. Like, we're going to have a long time to talk about Drake May. Dude's going to win the Heisman. Carolina's going to undefeated. We're going to win the national championship this year. He'll be the number one pick next year. I'll go ahead and call 100%. That right now. He's going to be better than Caleb Williams out of USC. Already is, in my opinion. Big Hawk, you got to get on Threads so that next time we get on here, you can thread it.
Guys, I'm getting on Threads, period. I'm getting
Everybody
on
follow
there.
Big Hawk on Threads.
I'm going to mix it up. I'm going to go by Big Hawk now.
Oh, man. Well, I'm going to go eat dinner, dude. You got anything else?
Stay safe.
Stay safe.